We're going to begin this Tuesday morning with President Trump's unprecedented decision to deploy about 800 National Guard troops to Washington, D.C., as well as federalize the Metropolitan Police Department to combat what the president calls a city that has been overtaken by violent gangs and bloodthirsty criminals.
Now, a White House official tells NBC News to expect Guard troops on the ground in D.C. today. This decision coming despite violent crime in Washington being down 26% compared to last year. According to the D.C. Home Rule Act, the president has 48 hours now to explain his reasoning for taking control of the police to Congress. The law says he can take control for 30 days unless Congress authorizes an extension. Now, speaking from the White House briefing room yesterday, President Trump explained his decision to take action.
We're formally declaring a public safety emergency. This is an emergency. This is a tragic emergency. They'll immediately begin massive enforcement operations targeting known gangs, drug dealers, and criminal networks to get them the hell off the street, maybe get them out of the country, because a lot of them came into our country illegally.
Now, in just a second here, Danny Cevallos will walk us through the legal foundation of the president's plan to take over D.C. police. But let's begin first with NBC News White House correspondent Monica Alba and Chief Capitol Hill correspondent Ryan Nobles. Good morning to you both here. Monica, we just heard a little bit from the president explaining what he's targeting with this takeover of the D.C. Police Department. This is a significant shift in the White House's relationship with the city. Help us understand, why is this happening now?
Well, Aaron, this is something that the president had mused about, had floated for a couple of months, indicating there could be a federal takeover of the nation's capital. But it really took a more aggressive stance and approach when, about a week and a half ago, a former DOJ employer was involved in an attempted carjacking, and he was injured, according to a police report. And that then made the president decide he wanted to take this additional action to federalize the police department and to announce hundreds of National Guard troops that are going to be on the ground today and in this sort of support role for other law enforcement agents that were drawn from more than 18 different agencies. So the president says for him, it's personal, that this is something he finds, quote, embarrassing when world leaders or people visit D.C. and they say they see rampant crime. But of course, the police data and even the Department of Justice tells a different story with their statistics. We know right now, actually, there's a 30-year low in violent crime in Washington, D.C., and that's not to say that crime isn't an issue, but this is one and a picture that the president is painting that doesn't completely line up, at least with the facts that we know. After there was a post-pandemic spike, they have come down, but the president himself has now been dismissive of that data, calling it into question and saying that more needs to be done here, guys.
Let's bring in Ryan Nobles. He's on the streets of D.C. for us this morning. Ryan, walk us through what this rollout of the National Guard, what does it actually look like over the coming days, potentially weeks, there on the streets of D.C.?
Yeah, we have somewhat of a playbook that the president could be operating under based on how he used the National Guard to respond to the situation in Los Angeles. It will likely be a limited number of troops that will be on the streets of Washington, D.C. They probably will be very visible, more than anything, to send a sign of what the president intends to do in terms of this criminal crackdown. Roughly will be around 800 National Guard troops, but they won't be in a front-facing role. Their job will be more to support the existing law enforcement agencies on the ground. But the president made it clear he is willing to use the National Guard to do whatever it takes to get to his goal of trying to make D.C. a more safe place. Take a listen.
This city will no longer be a sanctuary for illegal alien criminals. We will have full, seamless, integrated cooperation at all levels of law enforcement, and we'll deploy officers across the district with an overwhelming presence. You're going to have a lot of essentially military, and we will bring in the military if it's needed, by the way.
And of course, there has been quite a bit of criticism that the president was so swift to bring in National Guard troops to deal with this situation, when he appeared to be very slow to do a similar response during the riots of January 6 on the United States Capitol. Of course, other Democrats being very critical that taking this military step to deal with a local crime problem is out of the ordinary and could lead to a slippery slope. this is something the president is shaking off and believes it's something that's necessary given the situation here in Washington, D.C., guys.
And Monica, we also heard from D.C.'s mayor, Muriel Bowser, yesterday, and she defended the city's work on crime over the last couple of years. What's her reaction to this federal takeover?
Yeah, she called this overall plan unprecedented and unsettling. She said that she wasn't briefed on what the president was going to announce in advance, but she ultimately said that she would try to work with him in any way possible. But she definitely pushed back on that narrative, and specifically on the idea that the president had argued that Washington could be compared to a war-torn city with its crime, which she really called ridiculous and said was not the case. Here's a little more of what she had to say about these new developments.
We're not a state. We don't control the D.C. National Guard. We don't have senators or full autonomy. Limited home rule gives the federal government the ability to intrude on our autonomy in many ways. I'm going to work every day to make sure it's not a complete disaster. Let me put it that way.
And again, that Home Rule Act that the mayor was referencing there is from the early 1970s, and that's what gives the president the authority to federalize the police department for 30 days. But after that, if he wants to extend it, he would need congressional approval, guys.
Ryan, also, we understand the top Democrat on the House Judiciary Committee, Maryland Congressman Jamie Raskin, he says he's planning to introduce a bill to take action on this announcement. Tell us about that.
Yeah, that's right. Jamie Raskin wants to adjust that home rule law that Monica was talking about to take the power of militarizing the National Guard to come into Washington, D.C. without the city's approval away from the president. They'd like to give more power to the D.C. political representatives who are voted on by the people of this city, as opposed to the control being in the hands of the White House and members of Congress who don't live in Washington, D.C. Keep in mind, though, the idea that that type of legislation would have any sort of movement in Congress right now is very unlikely, given the fact that Republicans control both the House and Senate. But on the other end of this, guys, it's important to keep in mind that once we get to that 30-day window, which the president has to try and deal with this situation, he would need congressional approval to do so. Even though Republicans have control of the House and the Senate, it would require a 60-vote threshold in the Senate, which would mean that Democrats would have to be involved in this. Right now, that there does not appear to be an appetite for this. So whatever the president wants to get done here likely will have to be done in that 30-day window, or else he's going to run into some stiff opposition from Democrats in Congress.
All right, Ryan Nobles and Monica Alba for us in Washington. Thank you both.
Well, for more on this, we are now bringing in NBC News legal analyst Danny Ceballos. Danny, good morning. So I want to touch on what Ryan was just saying right there at the end, kind of how this moves forward from here, what the rules are, the parameters for the president. Aaron mentioned at the top of the show this thing called the Home Rule Act, which is what's at play here. Explain that to us.
There are actually two very different agencies or entities involved here. One is the D.C. Metro Police, and the other is the National Guard. Now, when we talk about the D.C. Home Rule Act, that does allow the president to essentially take control of Metro Police from the mayor and essentially federalize them. And there are different stages, and I think Ryan covered some of these. He can do it automatically for 48 hours, 30 days with notice to Congress. And then after that, it has to be authorized by a majority of Congress. But the president, as long as he has a federal reason, can federalize the D.C. police. On the other hand, the D.C. National Guard, D.C., remember, is different. They do not have a governor. So the National Guard in D.C. really is never under the control of the mayor. And you saw her say that in her press conference. So as long as the president doesn't just get to deploy the National Guard at a whim. He does need a good reason. For example, a federal reason under the Insurrection Act, or a local state-like, and I'm doing air quotes, a state-like reason where other states could deploy their National Guard. So he does need a valid reason, but really presumptively, the commander-in-chief is the commander-in-chief of the D.C. National Guard.
And we heard the mayor sort of trying to give us a little bit of a civics lesson. I lived in D.C. for 12 years, so home rule is familiar. We know that the city just doesn't have the sort of autonomy that other states or even cities have. So for the mayor, when it comes to what the president is doing now, what are her options in terms of how she deals with this?
Very few when it comes to the National Guard, because, as she pointed out and you pointed out, she was never in control of the D.C. National Guard. You may recall this was an issue during January 6th because the mayor of D.C. simply cannot wave her hand and deploy the National Guard. So separately, on the Home Rule Act, really at this point, it's more Congress than the mayor controlling it, because she's right. The president can, for short periods of time especially, wrest control from the D.C. mayor. And really, it's Congress that's in a better position to stop it because, for example, they could choose not to reauthorize additional time of federalization of D.C. Metro Police.
And we're kind of mentioning this in Dancing Around it, but Danny, just kind of put a fine point on how this is unique to D.C., why it finds itself in the position between Congress and the White House.
Yeah, D.C. is this creation of the creation of our framers, the idea being that it does not have autonomy. It's designed to not have autonomy. It has very little in the way of voting rights. Yes, they can elect a mayor. They don't have a governor, but they're essentially under federal control, and they always have been. Congress exercises direct control over D.C. As we've seen, so too does the president. So D.C. residents really don't live in the United States as we've come to understand states' rights and everything else. They do have, to a degree, lesser rights, lesser voting representation than other residents of the United States. In fact, you could argue they're less than our U.S. territories, like the Virgin Islands and Puerto Rico. They really have less autonomy, even though they are within the continental United States. And we sort of think of them maybe as a state.
Danny Savalas, we appreciate you as always. Great to have you in studio again.
A federal judge has denied the DOJ's request to unseal grand jury materials in the criminal case of convicted sex trafficker Ghislaine Maxwell. The Trump administration had pushed for more disclosures related to Maxwell and her co-conspirator, the deceased sex offender Jeffrey Epstein. In a scathing ruling yesterday, the judge said the release would risk, quote, unraveling the foundations of secrecy upon which the grand jury is premised. He also said that releasing the materials wouldn't reveal any new information of any consequence that wasn't already presented at Maxwell's trial. The judge said that materials don't identify anyone other than Epstein and Maxwell as having had sexual contact with a minor.
We are now just days away from the highly anticipated summit between President Trump and Russian President Vladimir Putin.
The leaders due to meet in Alaska on Friday for that high-stakes gathering that's aimed at bringing an end to the Ukraine war. Speaking at the White House yesterday, President Trump outlined his hopes for a deal with Russia, while at the same time downplaying the expected absence of Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky.
I would say he could go, but he's gone to a lot of meetings. You know, he's been there for 3.5 years, nothing happened. Well, we're going to have a meeting with Vladimir Putin, and at the end of that meeting, probably in the first 2 minutes, I'll know exactly whether or not a deal can be made. I think it'll be good, but it might be bad. And I'm here for one reason, to get rid of a war that somebody else started.
NBC News International correspondent Danielle Hamamdjian joins us on this now. Danielle, good morning. So during that press conference, the president, he also raised the possibility of a land swap between Russia and Ukraine. Tell us about that. Tell us how optimistic also Mr. Trump seems just generally about getting a deal done.
Yeah, morning, guys. Trump said that this would be a meeting to, quote, feel out Putin, and that, as you just heard, he would know within the first 2 minutes if the Russian leader wants a deal. He's also repeated that there'll be some land swaps. In other words, that Ukraine would have to give up parts of its territory. That statement has alarmed U.S. allies here in Europe and in Ukraine, of course. Their position boils down to this. The aggressor, Russia, cannot be rewarded. Surrendering territory to Russia would only encourage more Russian aggression. There's been speculation about which regions exactly Trump has in mind. We'll perhaps find out more on Friday. But in the meantime, this is what the U.S. president had to say on this very issue.
It's very complex because you have lines that are very uneven, and there'll be some swapping. There'll be some changes in land. And the word that they will use is, they make changes. We're going to change the lines, the battle lines. Russia's occupied a big portion of Ukraine. They've occupied some very prime territory. We're going to try and get some of that territory back for Ukraine.
Now, Trump also mentioned that he had been let down by Putin in the past and that the war could potentially continue after this meeting.
And Danielle, there is still some degree of uncertainty about whether President Zelensky will attend. It really does seem unlikely at this point. But what is his position on this upcoming meeting?
Yeah, as we speak, it doesn't look like he's going to be on the guest list for this meeting. However, Trump noted that he would immediately relayed the details of his conversation to the Ukrainian leader. Zelensky has rejected the idea that his country should give up land to secure a ceasefire. He said that this is something that would require an amendment to the Constitution, something that seems to have annoyed the U.S. president. Zelensky, in fact, wants a ceasefire before negotiations can even begin, so they're not even agreeing on a starting point. In a post on X this morning, Zelensky claimed that Putin is not getting ready to end the war, but that Ukrainian intelligence suggests the Russian army is making preparations for a new offensive.
Also, Danielle, European leaders released a statement this morning. This was backing Ukraine's sovereignty. How worried are they about these talks? Do they have a message for President Trump heading into these conversations?
Yeah, the Europeans have been sidelined from this meeting, which they're not very happy about. They're also unhappy about the fact that Ukraine itself, the country that's been invaded, it will also not be there. EU leaders put out a statement this morning, an excerpt of which reads, "The people of Ukraine must have the freedom to decide their future. The path to peace in Ukraine cannot be decided without Ukraine." Now, tomorrow, on Wednesday, there'll be a series of virtual meetings, an emergency virtual summit, if you will. Donald Trump is expected to join some of those meetings that will include European leaders and Volodymyr Zelensky. It'll be their last chance to make their case collectively before Friday's summit. Guys, back to you.
All right, Danielle Hamamdjian in our London bureau. Danielle, thanks.
Thank you. Well, in Texas, 3 people, including a child, are dead after a man opened fire in the parking lot of a Target store in Austin yesterday. Investigators say the man then fled the scene in a stolen car before they were able to arrest him. NBC News correspondent Priscilla Thompson is in Austin with the latest.
Yeah, good morning. Chaotic scenes in the parking lot of this North Austin Target yesterday afternoon, where police say 3 people were killed, including a child, after a gunman opened fire. We now know that the suspect is a 32-year-old male who police were able to take into custody a short while later. They say that he has a history of mental health issues and also a criminal record. We know that 911 calls came in yesterday afternoon, and police say that they arrived within minutes to find 3 people in this parking lot who had been shot. They say that the suspect likely fled in one of the vehicles of the victims. He then wrecked that vehicle and hijacked another. Take a listen to how police described what happened.
The suspect fled the scene, stole a car from the scene, took that car, wrecked that car, then hijacked another car.
Now, police say that they were eventually able to take the suspect down in South Austin by tasing him. This morning, we still have no public identification of the shooter or of the victims, and we are also waiting to learn more about a possible motive and the gun that was used and whether or not it was obtained legally. Back to you.
Priscilla Thompson for us in Austin. In Pennsylvania, 2 people are dead after an explosion at a steel factory outside Pittsburgh. We want to show you some video of Monday's explosion caught on camera here. You can see that black plume of smoke shooting into the sky there. The explosion happened just before 11 a.m. local time, and officials say at least 10 other people were hurt here. Now investigators are working to figure out the cause of that blast. NBC News correspondent Adrian brought us live in Clairton, Pennsylvania with the latest on this. Adrian, good morning.
Hey there, Aaron. Good morning to you. Well, I'll start with the latest, what we know right now. At least 5 people this morning are still listed in critical but stable condition. And late last night, we learned that the second person who was unaccounted for most of the day yesterday was pulled from the debris. Authorities have not identified that male worker, and they have not identified the other man who was killed in this blast. So a lot of heartbreak, as you can imagine, Aaron, this morning in the community. Now, we did speak with a woman who identified herself as the sister of one of the men she says was killed in the blast. She shared pictures with our affiliate WPXI, and she says that person was Timothy Quinn, but we have not yet heard from the medical examiner. If you look right now behind me, you can see that smoke is rising from the U.S. Steel plant here in Pennsylvania, about 20 miles or so outside of Pittsburgh. The plant is open and operating this morning, Aaron.
I do want to ask you a little bit more about the plant. I know it's been there for more than 100 years. What more can you tell us about the plant itself and where the investigation stands at this point?
You know, we heard from the mayor and city leaders yesterday, and they said the economy here depends on this plant. A third of the resources and the economy is fueled by this plant. It produces coke, which is a type of fuel used for steel making. As far as the investigation is concerned, it is just getting underway this morning. We still do not know what caused that explosion. Authorities telling us yesterday their main efforts were focused on search and recovery. But today they are assembling a team who will start interviewing and speaking with workers who were on site at the time of the incident. They want to know more about what they saw, what happened leading up to that explosion. Take a listen to what we heard from some of the representatives yesterday.
Our employees did a great job of making sure that we went in and rescued everybody that was involved, safely shut down all of the gases and utilities, and the plant is stable. But as I said, it is still an active investigation.
Again, just recapping for those who may not be familiar, 2 people died following the explosion. At least 10 people were sent to the hospital. 5 of them still listed in stable but critical condition this morning, and 5 others were released late yesterday, Aaron.
And Adrienne, before I let you go, you said the plant is open. We understand that it is stable at this point, but what does this explosion mean for the folks who live around that area? Any lingering dangers for them?
Yeah, as you can imagine, many people were worried about what may be coming out of the plant. At one point, there was, out of an abundance of caution for folks living within 1 mile of the plant, they were told to keep all of their doors and windows closed. They were also told to set their HVAC systems so it could recirculate air. But according to the local health department here, air quality monitors have not detected a rise in levels of purities in the air that exceed federal standards. But that warning was issued for folks who lived within a mile of the plant, just out of an abundance of caution, as you can imagine, Aaron.
All right, Adrienne brought us for us in Western Pennsylvania. Thank you. Well, the summer heat is making a big comeback in some places. Temperatures rising from coast to coast. Let's take a look at what to expect with your morning news now weather. Meteorologist Angie Lassman joining us with that. And there's something for everybody, something not great, but something for everybody out there with the weather.
Yes, Aaron, especially if you're looking for some summertime heat. We've got that for sure across parts of the West, where we continue to see more than 20 million people under these heat alerts. And you can extend, it's not just the desert Southwest. We're talking up the coast and into parts of the Pacific Northwest. That heat wave continues. We've got heat warnings up for a good chunk of that region of the country. And it's no surprise. We've got temperatures into the 90s for Seattle. Those numbers running more than 10 degrees above normal for that time of year. We've got triple digits from Reno to Las Vegas and down to Tucson. And even on the eastern half of the country, from the Great Lakes to the Northeast and up into parts of New England, it's 90s. Those numbers, again, above normal. There's really not a whole lot of relief in sight for tomorrow. More of the same, essentially. It's the 90s, the triple digits for both of those same locations. And then we roll into the weekend with more of the same. You guessed it. Temperatures very summer-like. We've got high 90s for Saturday in Nashville, mid-90s in Cincinnati and in Chicago. New York City, upper 80s to low 90s through the end of the work week and into the upcoming weekend. Because we've got a whole lot of sunshine and heat, that means those high surface ozone levels are high at the surface for parts of the Northeast, Boston, Hartford, New York included in that. And we've still got some Canadian wildfire smoke to deal with across the upper Midwest. So heads up there if you do have any respiratory issues. Meanwhile, we're watching the tropics. Not so worried about that tropical disturbance off the East Coast right now, but we will keep a close eye on Tropical Storm Erin. That developed yesterday. Right now, winds at 45 miles per hour, sitting just under 700 miles to the west of the Cabo Verde Islands. We're going to see this move at a pretty good clip. It has westward movement right now at 22 miles per hour, but notice what happens over the short term. Not a whole lot of intensification. It'll remain a tropical storm, and then maybe by Thursday, Friday, we'll see it become our first hurricane of the Atlantic season, and then potentially, Aaron, a Category 3. It'll be worth watching for impacts to the Caribbean and, of course, the East Coast of the United States down the line.
Yeah.
No direct impacts expected right now, but again, we've got a long way out to watch.
I was going to say, this is really the part of the season where things really start to get cooking.
Yeah,
right?
You're exactly right. We're starting to get into that peak of hurricane season, the time where you want to have that plan and make sure that you have a way to get any updated information.
We got to get you some comfortable sneakers
yeah, you're right.
to run around here.
Good point.
Thanks a lot. a lot, Angie.
You got it.
Well, a new era is dawning for Taylor Swift, the pop superstar announcing a brand new album, The Life of a Showgirl. This is during an appearance on the New Heights podcast, of course, hosted by her significant other, Travis Kelce, and his brother, Jason. Now, you can already pre-order the album on Swift's website, even though there isn't a release date just yet for this. There was this cryptic countdown, the changed profile pictures, and these hints from the singer that she sent Swifties into a frenzy with leading up to the announcement.
What do we got?
We got
A briefcase.
Yep.
Mint green with TS on it.
Yep.
What's in it?
This is my brand new album, The Life of a Showgirl.
There were so many people screaming just like that the moment she did that dramatic reveal there. So this is Taylor's 12th studio album, her first since releasing her first release since gaining ownership of her entire music catalog. It also follows her record-breaking Eras tour, of course. It grossed more than $2 billion in ticket sales.
We thank you for watching, and remember, stay updated on breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app or watch live on our YouTube channel.